Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our evening. My name is Peter Troy. I am the chairman of a business called Peter Troy the Publicists Limited, and we've hosted this meeting tonight. The four gentlemen that I have on the top table have all reached the very pinnacle of success in their individual careers. On my far right, and I don't mean politically, but on the table here, I have General Sir John Willsey. On my right, I have Air Marshal Philip Stirling. On my immediate left is Dr. Richard North. On my far left, and again, not politically, Reverend Canon Dr. Peter Williams. By way of a disclaimer, I add that the panel are here speaking on their own behalf and not representing any particular organisation. So, here we are, and there we go. And the first question is from Cadet Warrant Officer Matthew Howard.
So I'm currently seriously considering joining Her Majesty's Armed Forces. Could the panel give me some advice as to how I can pursue that, please?
Sir John.
I'd say go for it, but it depends on what sort of person you are. If you're an outgoing sort of person, and if you're fit, and if you like a challenge, and if you're imaginative, and if you believe you could lead airmen, or soldiers, or sailors, and that's a weightier responsibility, but if you think you have that personality, and you're not afraid to lead, then I would very strongly advise you to embrace it, and you'll enjoy it. And I was yesterday in Northern Ireland with 2 rifles, meeting a whole lot of people like you. You're actually slightly older than you, who had already just been commissioned. And they had just got back from Afghanistan, and they were relishing the challenge which was implicit in their role as a platoon commander, as an officer. And I'm sure if you're that sort of person, you would too.
Philip Stirling.
Well, Matthew, of course, you've made a good start joining the cadet organisation. Many people don't realise that the cadet organisation of all 3 services is the most successful and effective youth organisation in our country. So you've made a good start. My advice to you would be choose very carefully which service, which branch, and that it's something you really feel passionate about, that you want to do. I've always had a saying that you get a job you love doing and get somebody to pay you to do it.
Thank you, Philip. Canon.
It seems to me, looking at people that I know who followed it, it can be just a marvellous career and give you all sorts of discipline and leadership capacities which will serve you very well, whether you do a relatively short or a relatively long commission.
Matthew, I'm going to turn this around. This country has never more needed bright, intelligent young men for our armed forces. And if you're prepared to make a sacrifice, then we are in your debt. Now, I'll qualify this. War is a lot more complex than it's ever been. Young officers now are being challenged not just by the military arts, but having to be civilian administrators, diplomats, technocrats, across a huge range of skills that they would never ever have dreamed of in the past. And that creates unique challenges and presents an enormous intellectual demand on people who are coming in. If you are going to join, you have to be aware that this is an organisation undergoing fundamental change, and it's also an organisation which is naturally, and no criticism involved here, it is naturally conservative. So you're going to have a fight on your hands, and you are going to find it extremely hard to fight that conservatism. It is an organisation, like any organisation, which is primarily a bureaucracy, is resistant to change, does not like change, but badly needs change. And if you fancy that as a challenge, that is actually a far bigger challenge, and it's one that is desperately needed, and as I say, desperately need good quality young men and women to do the job. So if you do, we will be grateful.
Okay. I can see some people nodding. Matthew, what do you think of your answer? Has that helped you in your decision-making?
Yes, very much so. That's greatly appreciated, sir. So I think I will definitely be making the armed forces my career.
Okay, so we'll see you as an Air Chief Marshal very shortly, will we? Okay, right. Lady at the front, please, can we get a microphone too?
Good evening. There are many complaints that the current Ministers of Defence have no military experience. Do you think that politicians should have military experience in order to become Defence Ministers?
Air Marshal.
It would be nice if they did. I mean, we all know it's a sad fact that very few people in Parliament have any military experience. And that those that do have it do use it, obviously, in giving advice and making their opinions felt. What's more important, though, is that they listen to their advisors. I mean, somebody once said to me, a doctor doesn't have to had malaria to diagnose it. And that's true. It's a far more personal thing. And he gets his credibility by going and talking to the soldiers and getting the views at grassroots, and then going back and challenging some of the things, as Richard might say, that the bureaucrats or civil servants back at the ranch are telling him. So it's really how to use that, which is what got him to be a minister, which is the nous, to get to the truth and then to be brave enough to use that in the broader world in Parliament. So I think it's unrealistic to expect them, unless we introduce conscription again, which is a non-starter, to expect them all to have had experience. But that doesn't matter as long as they use their wider experience more wisely.
The last Prime Minister to have military experience, I think I'm right in saying, was Callaghan. Does that worry you?
Well, what worries all of us, I think, is that there are so few people in Parliament who have military experience. That is worrying, of course. But this is a fact of life, bearing in mind the sad reduction in the numbers of our forces over our lifetime, and it's happened in our lifetime. That's not going to change, I don't think. So the question is how we prepare and encourage those in power to use that power most wisely.